Expression tip number 4. Remember, the farther down you depress the foot pedal, the faster your machine will move. Lightly depress the foot pedal and practice only moving the fabric when the needle exits the fabric. As you become more proficient with freehand felting, you will be able to increase your speed. Moving the fabric too fast can cause unnecessary needle breakage. Continue to add as many fibers and accent fabrics as desired. Look at the amazing and beautiful results. Though the technique for working with the expression is exceptionally easy, you'll find that you can fine-tune your technique to achieve different effects. The amount of needle punching you do will affect the final look of your project. You can needle punch or felt your accent fibers and fabrics as much or as little as you like. The expression's other function is felting. Wool fabrics and fibers are traditionally used in the art of felting because of their ability to mesh so completely without coming apart. The amount of felting you do will determine the loft of the upper materials. A small amount of needle punching or felting will result in a loftier look, and the upper material will not be as embedded in the lower. Extensive felting will greatly reduce the loft and mesh the fibers together as one piece. You can control the felting according to the project. If you are felting something that may be washed or worn, you'll want to go over your upper materials quite a bit to ensure that they are firmly embedded in the base. A wall hanging or other decorative project will not require as much felting. Also keep in mind there is no right or wrong side after you have used the expression. The top generally shows the materials you have embedded very well, while the bottom has a subtle coloration. Experiment with this effect. You will be pleased with the results. Now that you are familiar with the basics of the expression, we have a project for you that will send you on your way to endless creativity. Today, we will make an expression cell phone case for your personal use. In your expression box, you'll find pieces of yarn, roving, and felt. Using your ruler, mark your felt into 2 pieces, 4.5 inches by 6 inches. These 2 pieces will form the front and back of the cell phone case. Now let's needle punch the front of the cozy with the expression. Pick one 4.5 inch by 6 inch piece of felt and a strand of yarn. First, we will make the stem of the flower. Lay the yarn on the felt in an S design. Start at the beginning of the yarn, slowly embedding the yarn into the felt. You may find you need to stop and reposition the yarn as you go. Remember, there are no rules with the expression, so don't worry if it's not perfect. Have fun as you learn the basics. Once you have finished your S design, you are ready to make the flower. Tear a small piece of roving and make a teardrop shape with it. This will form one of the flower petals. Place the roving under the needle cluster. Position the needles down through the materials by using the hand wheel and begin to punch it. You'll find that the roving becomes more dense and solid as you punch it. Add more roving to make the petal fuller and denser as you see necessary. You will be making 4 petals. Lay the 4 petals together so that the thick ends overlap. Punch the center of the petals to felt them together and make the shape of one flower. Now choose a contrasting color of roving for the center of your flower. Form this into a small ball and place it on top of the center of your flower. Punch the roving into the center. Congratulations! You've just created a 3D embellishment. Place your flower on the center of your S design and use the hand wheel to lower the needle unit into the center. Start punching slowly and carefully as you are working with a lot of material. Punch all around the center of the flower to enmesh it into the front of the case. Now we will assemble the cozy. Place the front of the case on top of the back with the design facing out. Take your yarn needle and the second length of yarn. Starting at one corner, stitch the front and back of the case together. You have finished your case. We talked briefly about what types of materials work well with the expression. Now let's really get to understand some of the great products you can use. First, we'll review good materials as bases for your projects. Probably the most popular material used as a base with the expression is felt. Felt comes in wool and polyester blends. The substance of the felt you choose will depend on the result you're hoping to achieve. Wool felt is especially accepting of other fibers and will act as a very forgiving base to your creations. Polyester felt is somewhat less accepting because it does not stretch as readily but makes a very sturdy base. Felt is a wonderful material because there are so many colors and textures available today. This would be an ideal base for a project where the color of the base will show through when it is finished. If you are working on a project in which you will cover the surface entirely, you may choose to felt on a neutral color fabric. You can start with canvas or twill, embed various materials and textures, and then use the resulting creation as a new piece of fabric. Denim is always a great base because it is heavy, sturdy, and readily available. You can even use your expression to decorate ready-to-wear jackets and shirts. A collar is often a great place to showcase some extra embellishment. You may want to use the expression to create 3D embellishments or standalone objects. For this, you can use a stabilizer or a stiff interfacing as a base. You can also use interfacing to create whole pieces of cloth that can be incorporated into other creations. The expression is also a great tool for working with woolen knits or decorator fabrics. Before working on something that has value, be sure to use a test sample with the expression to see how your substances react. The materials you can use for embedding are limitless. One popular substance is wool roving. Roving is wool that has not been spun into yarn or thread. It is very light and wispy and can be pulled apart like a cotton ball. Roving is the perfect product to use for machine needle felting. It is easily manipulated and comes in unlimited colors to fill out your artistic vision. You can use roving to add flashes of color into projects or use it with interfacing to make a standalone project. You may also choose to use various ribbon and yarns when working with the expression. The sky's the limit with these enhancements, but consider the properties of each fiber when choosing them for your project. Fibers that have more texture and loft are going to embed more readily than those that fray into compact materials. For instance, the loft of frayed woolen yarn is far wispier than that of gold lame. The yarn will embed more readily than the lame. This does not discount the lame from your project, however. You may consider combining machine stippling into projects with materials that don't embed as readily. You may also choose to cover your creation with a fine mesh to encapsulate your fibers. We found that some fibers need some tacking down before you start the actual embedding process. To do this, you can just lightly tack the yarns or fibers before starting to go over them in a more diligent fashion. You may also find a hand needle felting tool useful for this process. Once you get the hang of the expression, you'll find it much easier to manipulate various